How did the opportunity to be on the flight into outer space come about?
For my series, for me, it's always very important to be involved physically in the theme that I'm working on. And working on new space technologies for me also meant that I have to be in space myself to make that personal experience. So that's the reason why I got in contact with Virgin Galactic and Richard Branson, and I signed up with them a contract to be part of their pioneer astronauts. So that's the group of astronauts that will fly into space within the first year of operations. What everybody has to do is a preparation with Virgin Galactic that will take place at Spaceport America in New Mexico, previous to the actual flight. That will be probably a training of about a week. But what I will do additionally, I will go to Russia and do a cosmonaut training in Star City. So that's where the professional astronauts, the Russian astronauts, the cosmonauts, same as the Americans now preparing for their space flights to the ISS. And I will go there for a 2-week training and professional preparation and do all the extreme stuff that professional astronauts are doing.
So, have you been to the spaceport in New Mexico yet?
Yeah, I've been I think in October to the spaceport. That was the official inauguration of the spaceport. So that was when I saw first the building and when I met Richard, and where I also did my first photo shooting. And so the portrait of the spaceport is one of the first works of the new series.
What do you aim to get out of this trip, both artistically and personally?
To be honest, I can't really tell you that because it's so new, it's so special. I mean, I can't really tell you what it means to be out in space and to see the curvature of the Earth. So I'm more interested in how this experience will affect later than my artistic creation. My role as an artist and the work that I'm doing is to find out what this development means for the future generation. So that means I'm creating future scenarios based on current technological developments, and to give an idea of the world that our children will live in.
How does your work relate to the telematic society?
The term telematic society has been invented by a very important media philosopher called Willem Flusser. And he did it in the 80s already. And his idea of an interconnected society where information, images are flowing around in a network, where you have access to information and images at every part of the world, that was very visionary in the 80s, because he developed that vision before the internet actually was up. And my work is very influenced by his ideas. And what the world we live in today is totally telematically driven and controlled due to information technologies and the network we're all using. I try to find visual metaphors for this idea of a telematic society. For example, the Metropolis series that I did from 2003 to 2006 is about the development of the future megacities and how the internet will affect the urban space and the virtual space, the data space that is getting denser and denser every day in the big cities and interconnecting all the big cities. So that was, for example, the project on the idea of constantly growing interconnectivity. Another project probably is the series High Altitude, what relates to the development of the financial markets, which are today totally driven and controlled by computer algorithms. And this is a totally telematic system, because the financial flows of information, of money, they are circulating around the globe in real time. And without the interconnectivity and the networks that we have built up in the last decades, the system of the financial markets as it is today would not be possible. I'm always so interested in these hybrid worlds, these mixtures between real elements, fictive elements, and simulated elements.
So are you inscribing any visions for future social structures in your work?
That was always in my work. So what I try to do is to find out, to do research on current technological developments in areas where I consider that there will be a technological leap in the next or in the future time. And then based on this current cutting edge technological developments, I'm trying to build, to create future scenarios, projections, utopias into the next 20 or 30 years to show a society that will emerge under the impact of these new technologies. And now, for example, in my opinion, it's space technology. So the space industry, space technology is there's really an enormous development in that field, and I think we are at the dawn of a new space era now.
Streaming Museum aims to exhibit artwork that resonates across cultural differences. And what qualities do you think make such artwork successful in translating across cultures?
I would say artwork that addresses to the topics, the challenges, the problems that really affect humankind. I mean, there are a lot of local issues, of course, where it's really something that speaks to European people, does not speak to Americans, or does not speak to Asian people. If it gets too local and too narrow on certain topics. But if we talk about general issues, that means how, for example, the megacities will develop, how the human body will be treated in future time due to new technologies and genetics, biotechnologies, robotics, how the problem with pollution of the globe, education questions, and now also the space topics. So there are a lot of really global aspects. They are affecting everybody on the globe, and probably artists who do address to those topics have a good chance to that their work is of importance in or speaks to different cultural backgrounds. With Virgin Galactic now, of course, we are totally pioneers because this is a new thing that as a private person you're going to fly into space. But from here within 20 years, for my little boy, 8 months now, it will be probably a usual thing to fly into space over the weekend. And the fact that a lot more, many more people will have the opportunity to see the globe from above will certainly change fundamentally the way we live and the way also we look to our own planet.
So we are here by the UN headquarters. Do you think there should be a United Nations organization that oversees space travel and exploration and follow the same principles as written in the UN Charter?
That's a very important question. I was talking a couple of weeks ago to an astronaut who was flying several space shuttle missions, and he told me he would have wished that all the political leaders of the world would have spent at least one flight in the orbit to see the Earth from above, to see that there's one planet for all of us, that there are no frontiers, there are no visible frontiers, it's one whole thing. And that probably would change their way how to look towards politics. And I think that's a very important aspect, because if you look to the world from a different perspective and in a different scale, that will change certainly your mind, how you think about politics or economy. And but a big problem will be political and legal issues in space, because there are no really legal contracts or legal agreements legal agreements for how to use space commercially. In commercial space, for example, the commercial use of space will be a big issue. The Chinese, for example, they're planning a base on the moon to go there to mine helium-3. And so to get this incredible resource, they try what they can do to be there first, to mine the moon to get this. But there is no legal base telling certain countries, are they allowed to go there? Are they really allowed to establish a base? Are they allowed to take profit of the moon? Or who is allowed to land on an asteroid and mining an asteroid? What happens if two nations are coming together to an asteroid and trying to do the same thing? So the communization of space also needs a global legal base and understanding for humankind, how to travel, how to use, and also how to make business in space.
So, what do you think would be the future of the museum, or the future of distribution of work like yours?
I would say the museums have played an extremely important role for the last centuries to collect and to preserve and to provide artwork to future generations. I think this will not change in the future time. So the classical traditional museums like the Metropolitan, the MoMA, they will always have their raison d'être, and they will always play an important role. But I think additionally, of course, they will show up different or more flexible concepts to show artwork, to also to react more spontaneously to new pieces of art, to give a more spontaneous possibility of showing artwork, and like the streaming museum. So that's a more flexible concept where you have indoor, outdoor presentations, where you can do something in a shorter amount of time, realizing projects, and of course you can act globally. So the museum usually is more locally tied up, and if it's acting globally, it's always a big issue of organization. So if the MoMA wants to do an exhibition in Berlin, what they did a couple of years ago, for example, this takes years of preparation. And so more flexible concept like the Streaming Museum, I think they're probably more contemporary to the world we're living in today. Can we do one together?
Okay.
Thank you. Well, I have my dream and my biggest challenge is to one day to install a piece on the moon. So what I want to be, I really want to be the first artist to have a piece of art on the moon, and that also will be possible. So I'm very positive that I will be able to do that. To have the moon not only for scientific or political or economic reasons, but also for cultural reasons. What does it mean to, I mean, it's a statement to place an artwork on the moon and say this is also a cultural place and a cultural space. There's six seats for 6 astronauts and 2 pilots. And with Spaceship 2 in the first generation, we'll go only in suborbit. That means we will not reach the orbit. It's suborbital flights, but in the next generation, I'm pretty much convinced that Virgin Galactic will be able to fly into orbit. And that means if you enter the orbit, you will fly around with 28,000 kilometers per hour. And that means you're circulating the Earth in 90 minutes. And if the technology advances with the spaceports and the real fleet of spaceships, what Virgin Galactic is trying to build up, then it might be possible to fly from New York to London within 2 hours. Because you fly up into orbit, then you take the enormous speed of the Earth orbit. You're circulating the globe, and then you go down on the other side of the globe, and you land on the spaceport in London or in Berlin or whatever.
See, that's an intriguing thought for a European.
Yeah, and that will definitely revolutionize the way we are traveling, the way we are flying.
If you don't understand why.
Get a camera. I know this from my dad.